to adjust to the changes that are likely to come. Now, what we see in terms of American universities is actually fascinating as I speak at this university. There are 88,000 Chinese students in the United States at university level, and 68,000 Indians studying in the United States. A fraction of that amount is going in the other direction. A fraction of that amount is going in the other direction. And so it's not that Asia, in terms at least of India and China, is not preparing itself for the new world. It is that there is a myopia on the part of the West in terms of the developments in Asia. I am embarrassed to say that until 10 years ago, when I was in Australia and my native land and pushing for it, we only had one course at university level in Chinese, just one course. It's ludicrous when you think of the level of trade. It's ludicrous when you think of where the future is going. And thank God that is changing and has changed a lot. But we have decades to catch up in terms of where we're going and the preparation that is necessary. There is just a serious imbalance between what is happening on the ground economically and the preparation that is being done for it certainly in the West. So my message is really very clear. It is that you're living in a part of the world where the future economic activity is going to be. It's not without its challenges for a country the size of China, given the scale and the power of India and China. But it's also not something that you can ignore in terms of the response that you might have in terms of righting your economy and preparing whatever elements there are for specialized activity. I understand that this country is the third largest producer of automobiles in the world today. If my informant at lunch is correct, and it's none other than the president of this university. So I assume that 1,000,003 cars that he spoke of is a correct number. So it can be done. But it now needs to be done within the context of a really much better understanding of what is going to happen in the region around you, in terms of the creation of these giants, in terms of the economic, social, technological advances that will happen in those countries, and also, may I say, a latent challenge for those countries, for the people in them that are left behind, rather than those that move to the middle class. And for all of us, a challenge of what happens in Africa. This is not something that we can just push aside. It will be 25% of the world's population. And we cannot anticipate an Africa which has limited or no growth in a world of stability and peace. It's just too difficult today to contemplate that, and is not something that we should plan on. So the future looks good for Asia, not without problems, but with real opportunities, and a rebalancing of the world more akin, as I said earlier, to the world of the early 1830s or of the world of 1500s. It's funny how the world has a habit of turning around and replaying themes from previous periods. But that is the future. That is where we're going. And I also noticed that it's 40 minutes, which is what I was told to speak. And I'm very happy indeed to have the opportunity, Mr. President, to speak here. Thank you all very much. I think there's time for questions. Is that right? Yes. Or lectures, if anyone would like to.
And we'll give you the microphone. Okay.
Thailand is a little bit like Russia was in 1916, before the revolution. It has great aristocracy, divinities, wealth and power, and a slaving population. It's very interesting that will they learn from the rest of the world what's happened in Australia and the rest of the world? Will they learn here or not? I think Thailand is a kind of microcosm of what's happening on the whole planet. It's all together a big mishmash in this country. And my question is, what do you think is the future of Thailand will be?
Well, I think I should pass that to the president of the university to answer. I've been here all of the day. Perhaps that's the best way to answer such a question. The question, as you've probably heard, if you didn't, is that the gentleman is concerned about the aristocracy and the inequity and the corruption in the country and wonders what is the future of Thailand. And the answer is, I don't. That was the censorship coming. It's very clear that I shouldn't answer the question. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Sir, do you have any thoughts on the meltdown in the American fixed income markets?
Sure.
That could affect your global perspective.
Yeah, I think the question was, do I have any views on the meltdown in the American markets and does it affect my views? And the answer is that I'd have to say I'm pretty pessimistic. I don't know whether the press is here, but if it is, maybe I should change that and say I have some questions about the future. But I think that there is currently in the United States a pretty active debate going on between the chairman of the Federal Reserve and some few that back him, who say that the current crisis can be ameliorated and dealt with by additional funding going into the economy, by the stimulus package that President Bush brought in at $150 million, and by a reduction in rates from the current 3% to something more, which essentially, given inflation, would be zero real rates of cost of money. My own view is that that is going to be difficult to right the situation, because of the overhang of past successes, particularly in mortgage-backed securities, in various forms of extraordinary financial instruments that have been created, dependence on guaranteeing agencies for the additional